What is fellowship according to the Scriptures? And this is yet another word that has gone bad in modern times because it refers to socializing in a religious context. Let's look that word up in an English dictionary. We can just Google it. Here we have friendly association, a group of people meeting, and so on. And we'll soon see from the Bible definition that the share part is closer to the original sense. So let's get right into the classical Greek word. It comes from the word koinos, which just means common. Now, if you scroll down within the definition here, you can see a subheading for koine, which is just the feminine dative case singular form of that word, which would be translated in common, or logically pointing to the common. The New Testament scriptures and the Jewish translation of the Hebrew Old Testament scriptures, done in the 3rd century BC, called the Septuagint, abbreviated LXX, were written in Koine Greek, or the in common Greek. This was the ancient Greek dialect that became the lingua franca, or common language, of the whole region as a result of the conquests of Alexander the Great of Greece in the 4th century BC, and remained the common language until around the 4th century AD. So here we are talking about what koine means in Koine Greek, right? Anyway, you can scroll around in the classical Greek dictionary and see all kinds of compounds of that word. Common this, common that, all kinds of stuff. Pretty straightforward. A variant of that word that is normally translated fellowship in English is Koinonia, where the iota alpha suffix works just like the English ia suffix to generalize it into a class designation, like it does in English words such as militia or academia. So we have, hyperliterally, common ia, if you can get the sense of that. The religious word communion is also translated from this same word, koinonia. And for the purposes of this discussion, you can ignore that biblical reference to Acts 2:42, since that is begging the question, of course. The corresponding verb form is koinoneo, which speaks of doing something in common or in partnership or in community, to participate. So, now you should begin to see how the modern understanding has deviated from that. The Bible speaks of having things or doing things in common, whereas in modern times, if you say, we are going to fellowship, you really mean that you're going to hang out and socialize, like you would do in a country club or any secular social organization. Except that now you don't say, we are going to, quote, hang out and socialize, unquote. Now you say, we are going to, quote, fellowship, unquote. Those of us who do not, quote, go to church, unquote, although we do meet together as per Hebrews 10:25, we are criticized for shunning, quote, fellowship, unquote, or failing to direct those we evangelize on the streets to an appropriate, quote, fellowship, unquote, which is assumed to be church. You can see that this kind of criticism is made moot since the Bible doesn't talk about any requirement to, quote, go to church, unquote, or, quote, fellowship, unquote, in the modern understanding of the word. And if you haven't seen my video, What is Church According to the Scriptures, definitely watch that one. In conclusion, you have to be careful when you use English words like this to make sure that they correspond to the Bible definition and context.